Hi, welcome to This Week in Ames. I'm Susan Guiazda. On today's show, we check in with the Resource Recovery Plant. My guest today is Gary Freel, Superintendent with the Resource Recovery Plant. Gary, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Good to be here, Susan.
Well, this is quite a month for you. After 38 years of working for the City of Ames, I understand you're retiring.
That is correct. March 31st will be my last day.
You've had quite a career here, starting with the City of Ames in high school. Tell me a little bit about the different jobs you've had at the City of Ames.
Well, I started out on the cleanup crew as a high school job, like you just said. And it was for 4 hours a night after school, and graduated January of my senior year. And opportunity came along that I could start working 39 hours a week. Job came available in April of that year, and I got a full-time position as a maintenance worker at that time.
So the Resource Recovery Plant opened in 1975. It was the first waste-to-energy facility in the nation. Did you realize you were sort of cutting edge, working on something that was so exciting at that time? Was there a sense of excitement?
Well, it was definitely new and unique to the United States and definitely our community, the way we were going to handle trash back then. To me, it was a part-time job cleanup, and didn't realize how unique it was until a few years later.
Well, I think in the 1970s, that was the beginning of Earth Day celebrations, sort of an environmental awakening. Do you remember that as being sort of the impetus for starting the Resource Recovery Plant? It
was clear back then. They were talking about fuel independence from foreign oil and everything. Back at that time, that's when gas prices were spiking up, and farmland is such a valuable resource here in our community. So it was to offset the material landfilling, offset the fossil fuel consumption, and so there are a lot of dynamics kind of pulling and push the City of Ames in this direction to be as progressive as they are.
So explain a little bit about how the Resource Recovery Facility works. I'm not sure that everybody in Ames or in the county sort of understands the process of changing trash into energy.
We have the largest single-stream recycling program in the state of Iowa, where the households can just take their waste, put it in one can. One truck comes and provides that sustainable solution to our community. They deliver it to Resource Recovery, and when it gets there, our guys pull out any undesirable materials that we aren't going to get a lot of value out of. You know, a simple one, I guess, would be a porcelain tub or a porcelain toilet or something like that. No value there, so they go directly to the landfill. Our guys sort them out. You can put them in your regular trash. Then we grind up the rest of the material. We have ferrous metal collection, so all your tin cans are pulled out. The aluminum, copper, brass, the non-ferrous materials, they're recovered also. And then the paper and plastics fraction are sent to the power plant, co-fired with coal right now. They are looking at the natural gas conversion that's going to be coming up soon. So we conserve those natural resources, the coal or the natural gas. We offset those by about 10%. So we're not sending as much material to the landfill. There's about 65 to 70% that's diverted from the landfill and recovered to use other ways.
So you mentioned this whole processing of the garbage as it goes through shredders and conveyors, and it gets smaller and smaller. So even the portion that is not burnable is much smaller when it goes to the landfill.
Oh, without a doubt. It's densified, so when it goes to the landfill, it takes up much less space and compacts in to have an overall better product for the landfill to utilize.
So about 5 years ago, you started a glass diversion program, which when you think about how the process works, you don't want porcelain, you don't want non-burnable items in the trash because they don't help offset that coal. What do you do with the glass?
We started a destination recycling program, and we've got yellow, what look like traditional trash containers. We've painted them bright yellow, put them out in easy access areas, and we've got all of Story County is now covered with these yellow bins. Most of them are at grocery stores or public areas. so that the citizens of the county can drop off their glass into these bins. We bring it to resource recovery and we recycle that glass. Part of the reason we started doing that is just exactly as you said. That material goes through, and at the degritter part of the plant, we get a lot of that glass out and it goes directly to the landfill. Or part of it that might get embedded with the paper or plastic ends up going to the power plant. And once it gets to the power plant, it creates slagging problems for them, or it goes out in their ash. So we're transferring it through the system. It creates a great amount of wear or the slag problems and reduces the efficiencies at the power plant boiler. So the earlier we can get that glass out, and then we've got a marketable product to put back into the marketplace also. So
if the glass gets mixed in with the burnable portion, it then sort of melts in the power plant and creates that sticky slag that you mentioned. So getting it out of the system early is really the best way to deal with the glass. The yellow recycling bins, I see them at grocery stores. It's amazing to me how many products that are still manufactured in glass. Pickles and salsa, jellies. You don't really think that you're buying that much glass, but it's really convenient to bring it back to the source, which would be the grocery store. And you just throw it in that bin. It's really quite easy.
Yeah, and the public response have been great. I mean, we were concerned about contamination in those yellow bins, but the folks understand why we're doing this, and it's for the betterment of our operation. The more cost efficient we are there, and the better operation we have at the power plant, the more glass we get out, the more cost effective it is back to the consumer or the residents of Story County. So we don't get a lot of contamination. It's good, clean glass. It makes it easier for us to process also.
Yeah, and even if the metal lids are still on them, just throw them in. And,
right.
And those will get recycled as well?
That's exactly right. When it goes through the grinder system, we've got magnets in there that pull the ferrous metals out.
Yeah, I've seen people, you don't want to return heavy wine bottles, or you end up with some fancy beer bottles that are not accepted at the grocery store. As long as you're not concerned about getting that nickel deposit back, you can just throw them right in.
You're absolutely correct.
And I think that's been very successful. I think that message of don't trash your glass has gotten through to a lot of people.
Yes. We used to get about 4 tons a month when the program first started up, and I think this last month we had 27 tons of glass come in. So that just shows how much community support that we have for the recycling programs here in town.
Yeah, you mentioned the switching over from the coal burn to natural gas at the power plant. How is that affecting your operations at Resource Recovery?
The engineering firm that's working with the power plant is quite comfortable now that they'll be able to consume as much the RDF, the refuse derived fuel product that we create at Resource Recovery. They'll be able to consume right at the same amount or slightly less than what they're currently co-firing at the power plant. So it should have minimal impact, if any.
So you've had 38 years, almost 4 decades, working specifically at Resource Recovery. What are some of the changes? What are some differences that you notice now that we didn't have 40 years ago?
We're seeing a lot more plastics come through. The paper product, part of the digital age. We used to be a very, very paper-rich community, and we still are. But we've got USDA, Department of Transportation, Iowa State University, the City of Ames. We've got a lot of government entities, and we produce a lot of paper as government entities. And so we have seen the paper product go down just a little bit, but with the introduction of plastics and light film, we're seeing a lot more of that. The light film has less moisture content and higher BTU value, so that's not necessarily a bad thing either.
Any other changes? The size of the staff, or just the way that people look at the facility? Have you noticed changes over the years?
Our staff has been, we've maintained a staff of 15 people for quite a few years now. We haven't had to add any. Part of that's because of the change in technology, the way we process. We operate about 14 hours per day, and then we have several hours of maintenance every day, trying to ensure that we can keep the equipment online.
So the size of Ames has really grown in those past decades. Have you had to expand the facility to accommodate that?
We try to bring on board different processing technologies and to stay up with it. One of the things we've done in 2009 is when we brought the non-ferrous processing system in. It was about $1.4 million. Iowa DNR provided a grant to help get that up, and they gave us a low interest loan and some grant money. And that project is got a payback of about 5 years, and it's only 0.5% of our waste stream, but that 0.5 or 0.75% has enough revenue to pay back. Like all commodity markets, they kind of roller coaster up and down. The ferrous metals and non-ferrous metals are down just a little bit right now, just as the paper products and cardboard, as we've seen, are a little bit off right now.
Yeah, we've talked about that the sort of volatile markets around recycling, it's a tough for the private sector to make a go at that, as we've seen with the demise of the Ames Area Redemption Center. But we do want people to know that right here in Ames they have an option, and that is changing waste and energy.
You're exactly right, and we do offset the fossil fuel consumptions that are a lot tougher to recreate. You know, the people that the plastics are a byproduct of oil consumption. The paper industry's got it figured out how to make these, grow these trees really fast for the paper. We understand we go hand in hand with recycling. A lot of the recycling efforts, when it makes sense, we're all about doing that. Sometimes when the markets are softer, it simply makes sense to take care of it locally and sustainably and bring it to the resource recovery plant.
Well, you've had quite a career here with the City of Ames. What are you going to do when you're all done working, punch that clock for the last time?
My wife and I have got several other projects going on, and there's always something to do. It seems like this will free up 40 hours during the middle of the week to tackle a couple other projects we've got in hand.
Well, Gary, I know you, and you're always busy, but it's been a pleasure working with you, and thanks for being on the show.
Well, thank you very much, Susan. Great being here.
Well, you can learn more about the Resource Recovery Plan at the Ames Eco Fair. That is coming up on Saturday, April 4th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Join us at the Community Center Gymnasium right near our City Hall, 515 Clark Avenue. Also remember, if you want the latest information on the City of Ames, you can always check our Facebook page at City of Ames. Also, we're on Twitter, and of course our website at cityofames.org. Well, that's our show for today. Thanks for watching, and tune in next week for This Week in Ames.